Welcome to another EVE Online video. This time I will talk about the Stratios, and more specifically I will show you the fit that I use to run sites in hisec. Now there's many ships that can be used to farm sites in hisec, but the Stratios, in my opinion, is the best choice because it has an all-in-one package. So scanning down the sites and running them. Now, to know why I use this fit, of course, you must know what kind of sites am I looking for. First of all, I live in Sancha space, so I search for the dense. Yeah, the Sancha dense. Now, these anomalies are level 4 anomalies. Those are the highest level of combat anomalies that you can find in hisec. For the Sancha dense, it's very easy. You warp in at 50 kilometers, you drop the sentry drones. I use the Curators because they have the best damage profile, also have the good range, and they do the work for you. They are not so profitable, but sometimes at the end, at after the final wave, there is a faction red that spawns. On the rare occasion it drops great loot, but the dens can also escalate into a tier 5 DED site, the Sancha Neural Paralytic Facility. Now that site is very difficult. You have to warp off several times, even in this Stratios, because the amount of enemies is very high and you cannot just sustain the damage that comes in. So I prefer to run the Sancha Neural Paralytic Facility in a battleship, but it is possible to do it in a Stratios in case the escalation is very far away from your home station. Now, apart from that, I also seek out the signatures. First of all, you have the exploration signatures, so the data and the relic sites. The ones that I'm looking for are the sleeper caches and the ghost sites. Now the ghost sites are a bit a mixed bag. They combine hacking with a bit of combat, but this Stratios is perfectly suited to run them in high sec. In low sec and null sec, these ghost sites are much more profitable, but even in high sec, it's worth running them. Now, the exploration sites, the sleeper caches, limited, standard, and superior sleeper cache. Now, the limited is the only one that I cannot run because a cruiser is not allowed. That's the only exception. But if I am near my home station, I take out my exploration frigate to run these. Then you have the standard sleeper caches, great loot, tailor-made for Stratios. I made a separate video about it. And then you have the superior sleeper caches. It's a bit a mixed bag. You can run them more or less fully in a Stratios, but the mining room, let me show you my combat log. Here it is. Invisible cloud, so that reminded me that if you fail the hack in the mining room, your ship is dead. So I'm not running the mining room anymore. And then you have the archive room. It doesn't always do what you expect from it, and if things go wrong, they go very badly, as you can see here. So 2 embarrassing losses just for the little bit of risk that I took in a superior sleeper cache. So now a superior sleeper cache, I only do the solar room and the sentry room. Yes, great loot, perfect in a Stratus. The only downside of the standard and especially the superior sleeper cache, they are very difficult to scan down. In fact, the superior sleeper cache requires 119 scanner strength. And this fit, I will show you later, has exactly 119 points of scanning strength. You need a dedicated exploration ship to reach that number. So that's the reason why there's not so many choices for a ship that can both do the combat sites and also scan down the more difficult signatures. Then there is the combat signatures. There's multiples of them that I run. First of all, you have the vigils and the watches. So in every region there is, let's say, faction name watch, faction name vigil. I live in Sancha space, so it is a Sancha vigil and a Sancha watch. Both of them can be blitzed extremely fast. In fact, warping off, wait for the site to despawn and then return back to pick up the loot takes more time than the blitzing itself. Both the vigil and the watch can escalate into an expedition. Each part of the, or each stage of the expedition is chance based. You can have a maximum of 4 escalations in one expedition, so reaching the final escalation of an expedition is already quite rare. And most of the time, the final escalation is in low sec. This ship is not suited for running sites in low sec. This is a, if you do it, it's your own risk. The only defense that you have is the cloak. But other than that, if they catch you, you will get a fast return ticket to your home station. Now, the final escalation of an expedition, in this case, on the very, very rare occasion, it happens in high sec. But again, it's very rare. Most of the time, the loot in every escalation is not great, but sometimes you hit the jackpot. And then the other combat sites that you can run in the Stratios are the DED level 3 and DED level 4 sites. They drop, it's my, let's say, my experience, they drop better loot than, for example, the vigils and the watches, and if they get an escalation, it's still better to run the tier 3 and the tier 4 DED sites. Now, the special thing about these level 3 and 4 DED sites, strategic cruisers are not allowed. That is something from a long time ago. I still remember the time, but I think I talk about 10 years ago or even longer. The strategic cruisers were allowed to run these sites, and then the Tengu was the undisputed queen of hisec. But because they are not allowed anymore, we had to search for alternatives. I think the Stratios was introduced more or less the same time that CCP nerfed or restricted access to these level 3 and level 4 DED sites. So that is in a nutshell the sites that I run in hisec. Sometimes you are lucky and within 1 hour you have 1 billion worth in loot. I am not kidding, it can happen, but sometimes you're running sites for an entire day and you have a handful of million worth in loot because the loot or the good loot doesn't want to drop. Let's have a look at the fit. Here it is. So a fit for drones. So I'm not using laser, even though the Stratios has a bonus to lasers that would consume too much CPU and also capacitor. So the sentry drones are your best friend, and then of course I have to dedicate quite some modules to scan down the sites and also to hack them and reach a 119 point of scanner strength. So let's go over the fit. Medium auxiliary nanopump for better repairs, because you have to sustain incoming damage for quite a while. Yeah, I don't say that you will always survive, but sometimes you have to warp off. But having extra repair power is extremely handy. Medium explosive armor reinforcer. Stratios is an armor tanked ship. And for running sites, I strongly advise that you have an Omni tank, even though I live in sunshine space and thermal and EM resists are the most important. Some of the sites or some of the bosses in the sites deal damage that is different from EM and thermal, so better have a Omni resist profile. The medium gravity capacitor upgrade 1, yes, you need that for your sensor strength. Yeah, it takes quite a lot of calibration points, so that's the reason why I have only tech 1 of these two rigs. The cloak, strictly seen, is not necessary, but sometimes I zip around in wormholes or scout them out, so a covert ops cloaking device is handy. Then you need sister core probe launchers and sister core scanner probes. The regular Tech 2 launcher is not enough. You will just fall below that magic number of 119 points. A drone link augmentor, so that the drone control range is more or less the effective range where curators deal damage. That lies around 69 kilometers. It's almost a perfect match, but one of the drone link augmentor 1 is necessary. The tractor beam can be handy, but strictly seen is not necessary. Relic and data analyzer, of course, the Tech 2. So I tend to show you ship fittings that can be run by alpha players, but with the Data Analyzer 2, Relic Analyzer 2, and Stratios and some other modules, they must be run by Omega accounts. So it's a bit of an exception. This is not an alpha friendly fit. Now you can technically run a Zookma or a ligature analyzer, because that's two analyzers for one module slot, and then you have one module free or one mid slot free, but that will make your ship very expensive and attract gankers. Your ship with those special analyzer will cost close to or even more than 1 billion ISK. This one, Scan Rangefinding Array 2, you need the Tech 2 version to reach that 119 points of base sensor strength. An extra large cap battery necessary, because I use quite a lot of cap with the Microwarpdrive. A Microwarpdrive is necessary in some sites to get out of harm's way. An afterburner won't do it. And then the other thing that uses so much cap is the medium armor repair 2. You can use a faction repper for more repair power, but that will make your ship also quite expensive. It's not necessary, but it's convenient. But I stick to the Tech 2 armor repair. Reactive armor hardener for PvE. That's a no-brainer. 2 drone damage amplifiers too, because I use mainly the sentry drones. And then a IFFA compact damage control. The damage control 2, strictly seen, I can fit it, but the IFFA is a bit cheaper and For fitting purposes, you see I'm very tight on CPU. I can understand that some players need the extra little bit of CPU to fit a damage control. So an IFFA will certainly work. So that's a bit about the fit. You see I'm not cap stable. So running the Microwarpdrive and the medium armor repair tool sometimes is necessary, but I have 2 minutes and 40 seconds before it depletes. So that's enough time to get out of harm's way. Let's go to the simulator. If I switch off the Microwarpdrive, I'm cap stable. If I switch off the wrapper, I am also cap stable. So no worries on the cap. Just another reminder, this is a ship and the fitting. I will put the link in the description, but I have all my skills for PvE at level 5 or very close to level 5. So it is quite skill intensive. So that's it about this Stratios. I hope you like it. Maybe you can improve it or add a little comment. I will always appreciate it. Thanks very much.